Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. Hey, you know what? I think we should have some music. Yeah, that might be a good idea. There we go. I don't know why, but my machine restarted, so I'm not completely all here. Hold on. Well, you can hear the music. I can't hear it. Good morning, Octavius, Uzi, Apol, Jake. Happy Friday. Oh, look, there you go. That's happy music for Friday, huh? Well, let's see where we're at. My understanding is we're pretty close to where we were yesterday. Oh, don't need two of these windows, by the way. Okay, so 10-year treasury here. We did get a pretty, and I say pretty big drop off of the initial jobless claims yesterday. Oh man, that was a really interesting data point because the market really moved much farther than I would expect based off of that. But here in the overnight, it looks like they have retraced most of it, or at least all of the single prints through here. So, cool beans. S&P 500 had a pretty good, in fact, this was apparently the best one-day gain since 2022. So really good. I mean, it's really just to the higher end of this range. And by the way, if we come over here to like a daily chart and we start looking at the moving averages, they are bouncing between the 200 and 100-day moving averages. So we're not out of the woods yet, but it sure does look like everybody is kind of chilled out and has decided that it's not the end of the world. Maybe we go sideways for a little bit, and after the election, we can go back to all-time highs. Maybe. Oil's looking pretty good. Another day of uptrend here. Gold and silver, well, they're just kind of in the middle of the road there. Copper. Okay, a little bit of a jump in copper, but man, copper just, that chart looks so nasty, man. That chart looks so nasty. And the Japanese yen, much like the treasuries, you know, they got hammered over here by the initial jobless claims in the United States, but they've recovered most of it, and the dollar is sitting right at 102.99, 103. And Bitcoin, a little bit of a jump. So there was some points yesterday where it looked like Bitcoin was selling off and everything, but in the end, they have jumped back up above 60,000. So that's where we're at today. And coming over here, we do have Canadian numbers here. So Canadian unemployment rate 6.4 versus an expected 6.5. Employment change negative 2.8 versus an expected 25. And so those are pretty bad numbers. Well, it is kind of contradictory because the unemployment rate went down, but the employment change was a lot less than expected. It was actually negative. So we are seeing the treasuries bid up a little bit because of that, but we do not have a whole lot of news for today. So I'm expecting today will be quiet. You got to be careful with these no news Fridays because every once in a while, somebody picks that to make a really big play. So this is one of those things where we should expect it to be really tight. If it's not, we want to jump on board, okay? And by the way, we are a little bit off of that 4%, so very, very interesting. Yep. So, with it being a Friday and a no news Friday, yeah, there may be some big buyers, especially, I think for the treasuries, I expect that the treasuries will be really quiet. I don't know. When I'm looking at the DOM here and I'm looking at what it's doing, well, okay, the opening range here and everything is pretty tight, so that's in line. But I'm actually seeing a fair amount of activity, level 2 and so forth. That may be because of the Canadian news and all of that. So let's give it a little bit, but at the moment, it does seem to be more active than I'm expecting in the treasuries. The S&P 500, you know, off of that big win yesterday, you would kind of think that maybe they would try and extend off of that. At the moment, they're testing the downside, though. At the moment, they're testing the downside. So there might be some opportunities in the S&P 500. I think you might be right, DLA. Just don't want to get caught in that, like, let's take like 50 trades and it's just in a range and you just get screwed, right? That can be hyper annoying. And usually when I try and trade these kinds of days, I don't do well. So I'm probably going to sit on my hands. We could maybe do some programming. We'll do a little bit of talking first, though, and then we'll see how we're feeling. I was talking with, I can't remember. I don't know what their name is here on YouTube or if they're on YouTube, but talking with them on Discord, and they were trying to backtest something that basically you needed zigzag for. Like, they wanted to see when we made a lower high on like an RSI or some indicator like that. And I was like, well, there's kind of some complications with that, right? And I don't have a zigzag that really does it the way that I think it should. I need to make a zigzag that basically shows you when the signal is actually confirmed. My wife's half-brother thinks that listening to Dan Bogino puts him 2 weeks ahead of the news cycle, and I can't stop laughing about it. Dude, when it comes to information about the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, if you're listening to Don Bogino, you are getting the information like a week before everybody else. There's this guy, he's going in, he's got inside sources from the Secret Service because that's what he did, right? Am I getting the right guy? Maybe I have him mixed up with somebody else. I think that's Dan. He's got these inside sources, and he's putting these stories out several days before the other news outlets. I don't know if you're getting that much valuable information from it, but if you're really interested in that thing, you probably should be watching him. I don't know. I kind of feel like it's been memory hold, though. The big piece of news that we had yesterday was that they released the cam footage from the police officer, and it was basically like he climbed up on the roof and took a peek and then immediately came back down and like started swearing and crap. It's like he did not really. The guy pointed the gun at him and he ducked. Like, fell back and, man. Whew. Still, kind of, I feel like we should be getting more information about that than we have. Kind of feels to me like the media is, like, intentionally trying to ignore it. He was a very big coward. I do kind of feel that. Like, yeah, it's inconsequential because no one's going to do anything about it anyways. Maybe you're right. Like clearly something went wrong. So I've been wondering this week because the Donald Trump campaign has been a little weird. The Donald Trump campaign has been a little weird this week. Donald Trump, I think he did some stuff earlier in the week. But other than that, I haven't seen a whole lot. It's been like his vice president going around and doing all this crazy stuff and everything. It's actually been pretty entertaining. He went over to like Kamala Harris's plane and said, you know, I'm just taking a look at what my new plane is going to look like. And, you know, joking with the media about how they never do any kind of media interaction or interviews at all. So you're basically following this vice president around for nothing, right? And then Donald Trump did do a news conference yesterday, but that was only after like he had not done basically anything all week. Of all the things people ask about, no one finds the fact that Biden was 100% committed to running even after his disastrous debate performance, then immediately dropped out after they fell to Trump. No, I actually don't find that part weird. Because the whole thing had been the whole way that, like, the reports that we had been getting from the day of the debate was everybody was trying to convince him to get out and they couldn't convince him. And then he actually did have some sort of a health problem, apparently. That thing is weird. That's weird. That, like, he was in Las Vegas and there was this alert put out that they were clearing the way to the hospital, but then they didn't go to the hospital. They flew somewhere else where there's a well-known hospital, and they flew very, very quickly there. And then, you know, some independent news reporters have reported on this, but like nobody else has. There's been like complete blackout with the media. That to me says that Biden had a health scare, and you know, the media will cover that up because that's kind of a national security issue, right? I saw speculation that he fell when he did a public address about dropping out. It kind of looked like the right side of his, I can't see what you're saying, jaw was bruised. I'm sort of worried about Trump's health. Have you noticed how much weight he has lost? Oh, I have not noticed that. I am kind of, you know, so the whole thing about age, you know, so with Joe Biden, the issue wasn't just his age. The issue was that his mental facilities were also not there. And it was so obvious the whole time. Even when he was running the first time, this is a problem. And they kind of ignored him. With Trump, well, he still seems to be pretty sharp to me. He'll do flubs and everything, but all people do that. But he is old, and that does concern me. But is Trump's campaign floundering bigly? I don't know. Like, the thing is, I don't know if I would say floundering, but I did kind of think that the campaign in the last week was a little bit weird. Like, Trump was not really anywhere to be seen. Dan Bongino was doing some weird stuff. Then Trump did like a really long press conference. And I really think that the reason he did the press conference was because the Republicans were starting to notice that Kamala Harris had not been asked any serious kinds of questions. Tossing a not white woman into the mix was basically dropping Trump in the middle of a minefield and he can't move. I don't know. Maybe not. So there's a couple of things though that we don't necessarily know. Right. So the first thing that I want to point out is that it is before Labor Day and the campaign season doesn't really get into full swing until after Labor Day. Okay. After Labor Day, that is when you start to get into they are doing campaign events every day, shuttling him around the country, going to like small town places and all of that sort of a thing. Although I guess those kind of small appearances are a lot more common in the primaries, but I digress. You know, that it's after Labor Day. So to some extent, Donald Trump may be saving his energy, saying, you know, like spending a whole lot and pushing a lot right now just before the Democrat convention may not yield very much for us. And so that may be part of it. Okay. And like he did do some stuff this week, but it wasn't like every day. Like I think some people kind of want it to be every day. When he had his press conference, one of the first questions that they asked him was like, how come you haven't done a press conference for yay and yay long or something like that? And he's like, are you kidding me? Like, what do you think we're doing right now? And meanwhile, Kamala Harris has been like 3 weeks since she's announced her campaign, and there hasn't been any kind of interview or answering questions from the press whatsoever. It's wild. So it kind of seems to me like somewhere halfway down the week, the Republicans kind of realized this and started to make a big push for, hey, media, you need to do something. You know, you need to start asking her questions and stuff. Because like it really is kind of like, y'all gonna vote for this person? You don't even know what her policy platform is. It's pretty crazy, especially since like she's basically disavowed all of her past positions on all of the controversial issues. So like especially the things like that voters in Pennsylvania care about, like fracking and stuff. Oh my gosh. So some of this may just be tactical. You know, if I'm seeing this kind of behavior, like where it seems like Trump maybe does something once a week after Labor Day, then I'm really concerned. And I think that the big question for the Republicans right now is like, what kind of campaign is he actually running? Because it does kind of feel to me like they kind of thought that this was not going to be the same kind of campaign as usual, that maybe you don't spend a lot of time doing a bunch of rallies and everything to drum up the base and get the people to turn out. And I don't know what their plan is, but the whole, I tell you what though, man, like this whole campaign is weird. Like, okay, so I have to like switch topics here like a little bit, and you maybe you'll see why I'm come back to this. I want to take you on a walk. What's been going through my head the past couple of days? The movie Idiocracy is here, maybe. So we're going camping this weekend. Are you doing anything? Because this weekend is actually a significant weekend for people. Most of the big events, because this is like the final weekend that you get before schools open up. I don't think that my school is still another week away. It's not. The school doesn't start Monday. It starts the Monday after that, right? So, you know, like I believe the local festival here in Utah, Dallas Energy, is on Friday, I believe. You know, a lot of big festivals and things like that happen this weekend. I'm gonna go camping. It's almost like there's a holiday this weekend, okay? You're in Europe, you don't know. This is like peak summer right now. Oh, and there's the meteor showers going on right now. Doesn't peak until the 17th or something like that. Yeah. Or no, the 13th. I think it peaks the 13th and 14th. So the best days to watch the meteor shower are going to be Tuesday and Wednesday. But I'm going to go and watch it tonight. We went over to Cabela's. We have a Cabela's here in Farmington. Just like kind of weird, but we have a Cabela's in Farmington. Went to Cabela's in Farmington and got a couple of things because the tent poles on my tent was broken. So I had to go and fix that. Fun stuff. I went there. They're having their at Cabela's. They're having their hunting sale. So I was going and looking at binoculars. So I got these like 6X binoculars. They're kind of cool, but those were like super cheap, and I kind of got those because I thought that the kids could use them, and you know, it wouldn't matter if they destroyed them because it's super expensive. but I kind of want to get nice binoculars. And I was there, and they had image stabilized binoculars. So apparently it's still like binoculars. Like it's not like you're looking at a digital screen or anything. It's just that the prisms in the binocular are on like servos that do the image stabilization thing. And oh my gosh, I was so impressed. Like I had been seeing stuff on YouTube about it and everything. I was like, okay, like let's see how this works. Okay, they gave me some 16x binoculars, the image stabilized. I can't remember who it is. I think it was a SIG. Yeah, I think it was SIG, the same guys that make the guns, right? Image stabilized binoculars 16x. You turn on the image stabilization. Oh my gosh. Such a big difference. It's like shaky, shaky, shaky. And then all of a sudden, perfectly stable image. You're seeing like stuff super, super far away, super, super blown up. It was the first time I'd looked through glass and was like, oh my gosh. Like, I want these. This is so cool. This is so cool. And they're on sale. They're like, normally they're like $1,100. They're on sale for like $850 right now. So I'm like, you know, we're walking around. She's like, oh, did you see any monoculars that were like super cheap? Well, they have like $70 ones, but I think she wants cheaper than that for the kids, because I don't think he can see through the binoculars. He can't get them right on his eyes, right? And then I was like, yeah, but they do have these image stabilized binoculars for $850. They're on sale. Man, she did not miss a beat. We're not buying those. That's so stupid. We're not getting that. Oh, come on. You don't want to spend $850 that you weren't planning on spending on a cool piece of technology that under current usage we might use like 2 times a year? Come on. Why not? She was just, I tell you what, she'd never said no to something so quickly. And then when I was in the car, what I found out was when we went on vacation last week, and we were coming back on the airplane, and I had the binoculars on the airplane, and oh my gosh, binoculars on an airplane, guys. So cool. Oh, what is that weird thing out over there? Well, let's look in the binoculars. We can see it. It's actually cool. But apparently, my stepdaughters were very embarrassed that their dad had binoculars on an airplane. On an airplane. Which to me is so funny. Because especially the younger one, man, the younger one is super ADHD, okay? And she is missing half of what is going on. She really is. And you can see in her behavior, she is just so weird. And she's constantly doing things that I'm like, do you not see everybody here looking at you and wondering what the heck is up with you? Right? Because to me, it's like, okay, like, you don't always see people with binoculars in an airplane. But number one, it's super cool. Okay, if you haven't done it before, try binoculars in an airplane. You don't want to get super, super high magnification because the plane does bump around, okay? But there's a lot of interesting things to see on an airplane with binoculars, okay? So I don't think that anybody is sitting there in a plane going like, what is with this? What is wrong with you? You use binoculars on an airplane. I think that they're actually looking at me going like, oh man, I wish I had binoculars on an airplane. They must be looking at something really interesting. Maybe I will think about doing that. That's what I think people think. Okay. But even if they're not thinking that, what a loser. If I ever come across that guy in real life and he wants a job, I am not going to give him a job because he had binoculars on an airplane. Right? If there's anybody out there that is like thinking that, I don't give a fuck because I'm probably never going to see them again anyways. You know, like there's like 5 million people in the Washoe front. Okay, 5 million chance that I'm ever going to see any of those people on the plane ever again. So it doesn't matter what they think anyways. That would pass the time, big time, 4-hour flight done. Yeah, it was a real fast flight. But it was so funny to me that they were so embarrassed I had binoculars on an airplane, and there's so many other things that are going on all the time that I'm like, you should be embarrassed about that. Like, please don't do that. Okay? Like, please don't talk about how you want your meat well done in public. Okay? All of y'all's, all those girls, they want their steak well done, which is just absolutely disgusting, right? When you cook a piece of meat well done, you're destroying everything that's nice about the piece of meat. Like, you don't get a Wagyu and then do it well done, because then it's just like any other piece of beef, basically, right? Like, it destroys everything that's unique about that meat. Okay. If you're a person that likes your steak well done, do yourself a favor, never talk about it while you're dating. Okay. If I had, when I was dating, and I said one of the things that's like a common thing out there that I need to look out for and be concerned about is women that want their steak well done. Because my wife likes her steak well done. If I had asked that on a first date, I probably would have gone on a second date with her. But she might, I might have made a big enough deal about it that she would like not want to be on a second date. Maybe it wouldn't have worked out. Maybe I would have had a very different life had I known. So just do yourself a favor. Don't bring it up while you're dating, because I know a lot of men, they will, they're not going to get married to someone that likes their steak well done, right? But at the very least, don't talk about it in public. Don't let anybody else know. Don't let you keep that stuff to yourself. I'm not saying that's the way it should be, or that's just the way that it is. I know that this seems like, what the fuck kind of tangent is Seth on? He's talking about binoculars and meat, all of these sorts of things. But like, here's the thing. Like, what do I like about binoculars? It does something cool. It does something cool. It might not necessarily be super useful to me all the time, but it could be super useful to some people. It does something cool. There's actual like value in it. And what I've noticed more and more in society is that we've become so comfortable that what is something that actually works and actually brings value, we're not doing a very good job at teaching our kids to value those things. Essentially, what we've done instead is we've created a society where the only thing that the kids value is social praise, essentially. Like, what other people think about you is all that matters. And you know what? In an advanced society like ours, I guess it is a pretty important thing, right? You can get pretty far on like just people's perceptions, but not always, right? If you're a salesperson, then how affable of a person you are and everything, that is the only thing that matters. Is, do people trust you and like you and buy the things that you recommend to them? Okay. But if you do something else like what we do, you're a trader. You trade. Whenever I say you're a trader, I'm not saying traitor, a trader. If you're a trader, you have to perform. You have to perform. You have to know things. You have to have like an actual measurable edge. Some people think that they have an edge, but it's just random and they net lose money. And if you want to be one of those people that don't net lose money, you're probably going to have to come up with innovations that you came up with on your own to take advantage of some inefficiency in the market that you've made that other people haven't found yet. And the performance actually matters, right? So going back to the campaign, and the reason why I'm on all of this is going back to the campaign, because this is the theme of Kamala Harris's campaign, right? The whole strategy that they're doing right now is Republicans are weird, right? It's a very, I mean, like the Democrat constituency right now is basically single young women. It really is. That is their primary constituency. If they don't take a majority of women, there's no way they can win anything. Okay. So weird. That's something that would definitely play into the way that I think single women work. And I think it's intentional. I think it is. Yeah, they're weird. Social, like the whole like aversion to social like being socially rejected, essentially. Oh, he has binoculars on a plane. That's weird. I don't give a fuck. They're cool. I don't give a fuck. But they care about those things. And here's the thing. Yeah, if you're a salesperson, what other people think, all that matters, maybe don't let them see you with binoculars, right? I'm okay with let's go out into the woods and get the biggest pair of binoculars possibly can. Doesn't matter what anybody thinks, okay? But if you're a salesperson, maybe not. If you're a president, people do have to like you. But see, president is this interesting intersection where what people think about you matters very much because you have to get elected. But then at the same time, you do have to actually be able to govern too. And what are we seeing here with the Kamala Harris campaign right now? Is you have a campaign that is 100% based on trying to manipulate everybody's perceptions about both her campaign and her opponents, and is devoid of any kind of policy whatsoever. Of course, there are a couple of issues that are like key Democrat cornerstones, like abortion. You know, like Republicans are basically at this point, abortion should be back to the states. Democrats will still say there should be like a national abortion amendment or law or something like that. Okay. There are some things like that Democrats that you can say, yeah, those are still things on her platform. But like all of the controversial issues that are kind of like, you know, a person in Pennsylvania, are they going to vote for her or are they going to vote against her? Like, what is her opinion on gun rights? Should we confiscate people's guns? What is your opinion on fracking? Should we ban fracking? All of these things. She says, oh, those aren't my opinions anymore. And she doesn't talk about them in her stump speeches. She doesn't talk about policy whatsoever. Oh, I'm going to reduce, and when I get into office, I'm going to reduce inflation. Okay, you're not going to do anything about it now. You're vice president. Well, when you're in office, then you're going to do something. And what are you going to do? She doesn't know. She can't even say. They asked her this question about inflation, and she basically like gave a definition of inflation and didn't really say anything about how we can reduce inflation. It's the number one issue for voters right now. Hasn't said a thing about it. So here you have this candidate. Everything is about perceptions, and we don't know a thing about how she will actually govern. She's not done anything in her past that really shows that she can govern. In fact, there's a lot of evidence to kind of suggest that she's not very good at managing people. There's one thing that she has done that we can kind of use to be like, well, what kind of manager is she? What kind of president would she actually be? And that is who she selected as her vice president. So who did she select as her vice president? Enter Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota. And as soon as she selected Tim Walz as governor of Minnesota, and it really started on Wednesday, I think I would say, is people on the internet started to get on this stolen valor thing. Have you guys seen this discussion? Because I kind of thought that one of you would bring it up, and I didn't, so I didn't bring it up for like 3 days, but man, on Reddit, holy crap, there was so much, you know, like you go into advice animals, and like the top 5 posts there were all something to do with trying to defend Tim Walz against the claims of stolen valor. So if you're not paying attention to this issue, basically Tim Walz was in the Army National Guard for like 20 years. and then he retired shortly before they were actually deployed to Afghanistan or Iraq. I can't remember which one it was, but I think it was Afghanistan, before they got deployed to Afghanistan. And there has been various places where, like, for instance, there was a book. The book said that he endorsed the book, and there was a passage in the book about him, and the book said that he served in Afghanistan when he had not, right? And then he endorsed the book, so, like, he knew that the book said that, right? There was this one time where he was in a little town hall, and he said, like, people shouldn't be able to have the same kinds of weapons of war that I carried when I was a soldier, but he never did. He was never deployed in a war zone. So, like, you know, it's not. I'm not gonna say that those are like straight up lies, but like he was a little bit too loose. He what is the word? Not exaggerated. I mean, exaggerated would be an acceptable word, but I think that there was a word that the Kamala Harris campaign used for it that was like, well, okay, yeah. It wasn't, your service was not as big as you had maybe said in a couple of places, okay? But like, then you get into this whole thing that like he quit just before they went on deployment, and there were some members of his unit that said that he basically, like, he abandoned them because they were going to get deployed. So I've seen this whole thing online, this argument back and forth that, like, well, when you look at the timeline of events, he, like, retired in April or May, and they didn't get the order that they were going to deploy until July. So it wasn't actually, but that's not the full story. Because number one, he was, like, in leadership, so he would know that they were about to get called up before it actually happened. But then, yeah, didn't he quit just before the deployment? He specifically declined to deploy, not just that he didn't. No. So here's the thing, is that he was high up rank, and he was selected to lead the unit. So you get a promotion, and then there's this training that you have to go to. And when you take the training, you're committing that if you take this training, that you're going to serve in leadership for at least 2 years after the training, okay? And by the way, he had signed, signed up for another 6 years. Now, because he's been in the military for so long, he has the option to retire whenever he wants, but he had signed up for 6 years, and he had only served 4 years of that. So it was like 2 years as leader of the unit, and then he would retire, is kind of what was planned. Because, like, here's the thing. You're selecting somebody to lead the unit. You're selecting somebody to go and get trained for that sort of a thing. If you know that they're not going to be around, then you're not going to pick them, because then what happens? He's around for 6 months, or what happened was he was around for like 6 months or whatever, didn't go to the training, retires, and then they're like, oh crap, they have to select somebody different. That somebody different isn't for, is now behind, and they're about to deploy, and the unit's going to deploy. They don't even have a unit leader, basically, right? So like they're behind, when if he had been honest with them 6-9 months ago, right? Talking here, but at the low end of the rank spectrum, rumors of your inevitable deployment circulate months before the orders actually come. Gotcha. Yeah. So I think that obviously I can't read minds, so I don't know why he actually did retire when he did. If it was really just about, so here's another thing, is that he says, well, I had to retire to run for Congress. But no, you didn't. Because what you do is you still run for Congress, and then if you win, then you put in for a special exemption with the Army, and there's a process that you go through for that. So that excuse doesn't work either. It's really funny to see the way this has gone out, because these guys, back in 2018, the other members of his unit basically wrote this letter and said everything about it. The whole thing that, like, you commit for 2 years and you go through the training, everybody goes through but he didn't. And so then they had to rescind the promotion and like take it back posthumously and all of that sort of stuff, right? And all of this, the commentary and stuff that I'm seeing on Reddit, and like the excuses that people are trying to make up for Walls for, to excuse why he did this, are all covered in the original complaint. Obviously, they haven't read that. Obviously, the media isn't sharing that around. I actually found it difficult to find the letter, but it was published in a local newspaper. So it is out there, and it's still out there. Let's see here. I found out my unit was probably getting deployed while I was still BCT, AIT, and when I finished training, I got both a plane ticket home and orders to deploy. So I went home for a couple weeks, then flew back out to my AIT training site, because that's where our unit was staging 3 months of desert training at White Sands, and the rumors began circulating we were getting deactivated, and a couple months later, our orders were canceled and we went home. Wow. Interesting. That's very interesting. So I do believe, based on all the information that I have, that Walls did know that they were going to get deployed when he put in to retire. How much that played into his actual decision, I'm not a mind reader, but it's awfully suspicious. And the members of the unit were awfully sore about it. Right? And I would be too. Like, can you imagine? Just like think about it like at your job, right? So this guy, they say, hey, you're going to be the new, team lead or whatever. And then as soon as he becomes team lead, he quits, right? What would you think about that? It was like, well, if he quits as soon as he gets in charge, like, what's going on here, right? And like, because you're not going to promote somebody unless you think that they're going to be around, right? Promote some, then they immediately leave. Like, the people that would pick them, they're going to have a black eye off after that. Like, it doesn't look good. So like, I really think the whole issue is damning. But here's the thing. He's just the vice president. So like, why does it matter? Well, it matters because it's the one thing that we have that gives us insight into how Kamala Harris might govern. What is Kamala Harris like as an executive? And what is her decision making like? The one opportunity that voters might have, because the media is not asking her questions. The one opportunity that voters get to see how does Kamala Harris make decisions. And what did she do? She didn't completely do her homework. She didn't look into this thing and find out that, he had basically agreed to a leadership position and then quit before it happened. Is that who you want as your right-hand man? Man, if I'm going through and I'm doing the, all of the investigation about who I want to be my vice president, and I read that story that happened, because that was in 2018, it was there, and whatever information that she had to decide on her vice presidential candidate, she most certainly known, or at least should have known, that was a thing. But what happened? She chose him because she thought that he would give the campaign that folksy rural charm. In other words, the one decision that she could make that give us insight into how she would be president, and she made a decision that was basically all about perception instead of performance. Do you see why I had to speak about binoculars and all of these things first? The dynamic between the top ranks and lower ranks in the National Guard is, at least I think, different in the National Guard than it is in active duty. A whole lot more casual relaying of information and fraternizing, because we're all just part-timers. So info brass and top NCOs are privy too often, easily becomes casual gossip. Oh, I bet. I mean, part of it was that this was like when the whole Afghanistan thing happened, right? So I'm sure that there were some people that were just like looking at this and like, well, I don't want to be in the military anymore. Like, I was only in the military because I knew that like there was no chance that I'd ever get deployed. But now that we're actually in a war, sure there was plenty of people like that. I tell you what, too, like one of the things is that I think that they kind of picked him thinking, oh, well, this will kind of help us with veterans and stuff like that. But I have yet to see anybody that was involved in the armed services whatsoever that reacted positively to this story. In fact, it seems to me like a lot of people in the military kind of resent anybody that tries to use their military service for political services whatsoever. Like basically, like you left the service to become a politician, they automatically hate you, When I heard I was getting deployed, totally casually called my mom and said, well, I'm going to Iraq. My mom was super sad and worried. And I was just like, maybe I come back, maybe I don't. I don't know. So you did deploy to Iraq then, or did you never actually get deployed? Because at least the instance that you talked about, you said that they didn't actually go, but did you get called up some other time? No, your orders were canceled. When I was a missionary and I lived in this town called Manhattan, Kansas, and there's a military base in Manhattan, Kansas, and while I was there for I think I was there for 4.5 months. While I was there, like at the very beginning of my being there, they made the order to move an army unit called Big Red 1 to be stationed at Manhattan, Kansas. I'm not a combat vet, a couple of years, and that was for hurricane season. We were activated for that, and that had me in and out of places in Florida didn't even know existed for 6 months. That's interesting. But a Big Red 1 is basically the largest army unit. So having that move into the town was a huge deal. And it was crazy. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. Like when I first got there, apartment complexes were like $500 because it's a teeny tiny town in the middle of nowhere. There is a university there, but like outside of the university, those kids, they don't have money. It's cheap. It was cheap. And while I was there, just in like the 4 to 6 months that I was there while they moved that military unit over, rent tripled. Like when I left, people were paying $1,500, $2,000 for apartments, for like 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. It was so nuts. I've never seen anything like that. Like the impact that it had on that town was so wild. It was so wild. It was kind of interesting because you'd always be walking around and you could always hear them doing artillery practice and stuff. And a really good portion of the people that we talked to were in the military. So almost everything that I know about the military comes from speaking to people when I was in that town. And one of the things that was really interesting to see was, who had seen action and had been deployed and who had not. There was a number of people that we spent a lot of time with, like particularly members that would like drive us around and stuff, that they had seen real action, man. They had seen real heavy action. And it does stuff to you. It was kind of sad to think about, but it's kind of weird because like these guys, oh my gosh, some of these guys, it's like they have PTSD. Like they straight up have PTSD. Certain sound plays at night and they're under the bed, grab the wife and roll under the bed sort of a thing. Like they're telling me these stories about it, right? And they are still so like, I don't know, cavalier about it. It's like, yeah, I'm completely, absolutely screwed. And but that they're not sad about it. It was a weird thing. Like, you're hearing about it and it's like, oh, that's so sad. That's so hard to deal with. But to them, it's just like life. And it's much life as it is going out in the yard and, doing their work. It's just... Let's hear. My friend was in the unit I joined before I signed up, and the unit was deployed to do airport duty in Tampa after 9/11, and they did that. Basically gobbled up entire apartment complex. Yeah. Okay. Anyways. This is the dynamic that's going on in the campaign. Is that change? Do people realize, like, we actually need substance in our president before election day comes? We'll see. Based on current polling and everything, I'd still see that Kamala Harris will lose, but it's too close for comfort now. I never thought about how that impacted rents. Government moves in and starts paying a bunch of rents. It makes sense. It's got, yep. Because you're taking this tiny town and you're like 10xing the population of that town in such a short time. It was wild. It was very wild. I don't know. I kind of wonder how much did that experience play into my understanding of economics, like, because some of these things that have happened in the last 4 years, and I'm seeing all of these people try and like argue their way out of how these certain policies led to inflation. It's like, how do you not know that things work like this? Like, if you substantially increase the demand of something and you don't increase the supply of it, the price is going to go up. It's the only thing that can happen. What's the best stock to buy to get tampons for tampons in the boys' bathroom? J&J, yeah. Buy a defensive stock, yes. My eyes are a little weepy today. I hope that doesn't continue through, because that's not very optimal for stargazing. You know what? That issue kind of really bothers me too. Not like the whole thing about that they had tampons in the boys' bathroom, but like whenever it's talked about on Reddit, they omit the fact that a key part of it was that they had to be in the boys' bathroom too. And I've seen all of these pictures that, like, as soon as they put them up, the guys took it off the wall and threw it in the toilet. The good thing is, if Harris wins, I won't have to change much about my portfolio composition. Jeez. So, like, here's the thing with this. So, let's think back to when Joe Biden got elected, right? Because when Joe Biden got elected, we had a pretty darn good idea of what he was going to do. And he followed through on it, right? Like, do you remember? I remember this one stream like a week before he was inaugurated saying, okay, these are the policies that he's going to do. You're going to see a ton of illegal immigration come in. You're going to see all of, and there was like 5 things I went through, and he did all of them. Oil, right? And yet when I think back on it, it's like, but I didn't really feel confident. I maybe had some ideas, but I didn't really feel super confident about like what were the best trades for that. Go long oil. Probably we're gonna get some inflation. I don't know what you do with the immigration issue, but like I didn't have super great trades off of it. And now when I think about Kamala Harris, like if Kamala Harris wins, I don't know what you do about it. I'm really not sure what you do about it. But I guess part of that is that she doesn't really have a platform. So I'm really concerned about the future of the country if Kamala Harris becomes president. But the thing that I would be most concerned about if Kamala Harris becomes president is large swaths of the American electorate completely turning off. Like, essentially, you have possibly the worst and most radical candidate you could possibly put up. And she's also, I would say, very heavy on the use of executive power, right? So if you can't prevent her from getting in, then what chance do you have of having an impact on literally anything else in this country, right? I think that you would start to see some red areas like really like I'm not going to say that they're going to like revolt and there would be civil war sort of a thing. I think that that's a little bit too extreme. But they would basically stop participating in the process and no longer see themselves as really invested in the country anymore. And I think that that would be a really big problem. And I don't know what that would mean for markets, but it's a little scary to look at. Green you inflate those. Yeah, probably subsidies for solar and wind, that may be. Although then it's a question. So like that's a tough one though, because okay, yeah, you've seen some of that money go into the markets during Biden's term, but like which were the right ones to go into? Because a lot of these companies, like they get a ton of money and then they just go kaput, like because it doesn't actually lead to success. You're just like throwing money into a like basically when the government decides that, oh, this is something that we want to invest in, and the government, you know, puts all of the money in, it's doesn't have a very good multiple. Like you don't get as much for that investment because they're not actually investing in something that's like well researched and actually has a lot of market potential. And so what tends to happen is the money just kind of gets distributed amongst the executives in that field and they run away with it. So I don't know if you as the investor actually end up you can make a ton of money from it, but it's not like a guaranteed play, you know? The real play that we should have made the day that Joe Biden was inaugurated was going long oil, right? But even that one, you would have had to have gotten out at the right time because oil has been pretty bad the past year or two. Basically, he kind of realized what was going on and how bad his policy and what he was saying was hurting the oil industry and kind of flipped around and turned into trying to get as much energy production as they could and at the same time trying to, you know, pump as much oil as, you know, and to reduce inflation and so forth. Ugh. That's trying to refill the SPR. That's going to be a problem. Oil numbers are fake now as well. I was reading some stuff about these people complaining about the oil numbers. Yes. Their case was actually sounded like a better case than the case against like the non-farms payrolls. Because I really think that the non-farms payrolls isn't necessarily like they're outright fudging the numbers as much as it is that they are making tweaks to the models that are kind of favorable or less favorable, essentially. And they've made enough of a change to it that they don't really match up with the way that the payroll reports were before, and so all of this historical information that we have about them is wrong, and hence you get a data series that was really hard to predict before anyways, and it's just like even worse, so that all of the analyst reports are just completely wrong. They were underreporting demand or something. The thing on that one though is you got the Saudis though, and the Saudis are pretty good at that. I tell you what, so this is the thing that I don't really get about the oil market, but that I find really fascinating is that you've got this oil cartel, you've got OPEC, a cartel completely contrary to all free market principles and everything. And yet they put out a lot of good information. Like the information that they put out is good, and the estimates and stuff that they put out are pretty good. It just doesn't seem like the behavior of like this cartel that's trying to, manipulate price in their favor and everything. Like they treat it more like the Federal Reserve, oil, the price of oil and the supply and demand of oil is this important thing to the global economy that we need to manually manage in a responsible manner. If they take it seriously, I don't. There's something there that doesn't quite match up, in my mind about what's actually going on there. Have I just been propagandized and OPEC is actually like completely evil and lying to us about everything and constantly screwing over the consumer? I don't know. The data though has been had the past 4 years. Can you believe that it's been 4 years, man? I cannot believe that we've had 4 years of Biden. It feels to me like that Joe Biden took over like a year ago, like in market time. By the way, the equities were having kind of a little bit of like testing on the downside, and then they rallied. But since the open here, for the first 3 minutes of the open, it's been pretty quiet. The treasuries, I would say that the treasuries have had a little bit more activity than I thought they would, but it's still pretty constrained. They had a pretty good rally from 01 up to 04. So there was 8 ticks in that, but overall, I'd say pretty quiet in the treasuries. Well, he changed a lot during these 4 years. It does feel like two different persons when comparing. Oh, that's probably true too. I mean, the Biden administration saw quite a bit of significant turnovers. I mean, that's part of why Donald Trump's presidency kind of was the way that it was. And there was, because you had a lot of people come in and out that had different policies and ideas about things and stuff. I think a lot of that was that Donald Trump just didn't understand government. And a lot of that was that Donald Trump didn't really have people that were really in line with what he was trying to do anyways. I hope that if he gets elected again, that they're better with that stuff. It seems like that he has a much more serious apparatus. And that kind of brings us full circle back to what is the campaign been doing this week? Well, I know that they have a very sophisticated and experienced political campaigning apparatus with the Trump team. Basically, all of the best Republicans said it's going to be Trump, and they got behind Trump early. So I don't know what they're doing right now, but we just have to see. Let the convention get over. Let Memorial Day be done with, and then let's see what they're doing. We might see a completely different campaign. And at some point, will the Kamala Harris campaign have to readjust? I sure hope so. I saw this thing yesterday, because people are saying, when are you going to have a sit down with the media? And her campaign said, well, that is something important that we need to do. And we have a goal to sit down within like the next 48 days or something like that. Or the next 24 weeks, I think it was. It was like, so you need how long to be able to prepare for a media interview? Like, I couldn't believe it. That should be like, people should be like mocking that endlessly. I just couldn't. It was so stunning. And I can't believe that anybody would say that and think that like you can become president saying that, Wild. It's wild. Man, I don't know why, but I'm sweating pretty decently today. I bet you can probably even see it. Yeah. What's with that? It's not that hot in here today. Well, that sucks. I'm going to smell all day now then. One thing I hate about the RNC is how they ignore that dude, Scott Pressler. Oh, I'm not familiar with that. He's on the ground registering voters to the point where you'd think he was going to die from it. Well, it does, from what I've seen, the Republicans are doing better with that stuff this time around. People are volunteering. People are working on registering voters. In many key places, Republicans have outpaced new registrations. They're more focused on the kind of get out the vote campaign infrastructure. I think they're spending a lot of work purging voter rolls, removing people that aren't eligible voters. I've seen a lot, like many states doing those recently. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think one of the issues that I see is that the Republican Party is really just not as tech savvy. They really aren't. I think that one of the big factors here was that, Silicon Valley became very leftist, and they used that to push left ideas on social media websites and push conservatives out of them. This is the most clear on Reddit. It used to be very clear on Twitter until Elon Musk took over and he kind of purged it and made it a little bit more equal on Twitter. And the only place that it was really not like that was Facebook, because Facebook was like for everybody. But Facebook isn't a very good place to push political content anymore anyways, so it's like... and so because of that, a lot of conservative people are just like not very big fans of the internet, and social media. So, when you get into the campaigns, that's where you get like Kamala Harris campaign is almost completely obsessed and completely focused on social media. They are pushing the astroturfing so hard, it is insane. The amount of crap on Reddit, like Reddit is practically unusable right now, man. Like all of the mainstream subs, it's just garbage. There's no funny memes or anything, it's just garbage. And there's all this stuff about paying streamers and paying influencers and stuff. Like they're putting a ton of money into social media outreach. Donald Trump's not doing any of that crap. Like he has a TikTok and he has his Truth Social and whatnot, but he doesn't have to do any of that. He just gets the attention. It's funny. Oh, astroturfing. Are we really to the dead internet? Like, because it does feel like a lot of people have disengaged. I've definitely disengaged from TikTok. There's so many times now where I see stuff and I'm like, oh, okay, here's something that people are saying that would make a good video. Let's make a video about this. Hey guys, when there's like market volatility, who your broker is really matters at that point, because the brokers that skimp on investing in infrastructure and everything, they're not going to be able to handle the volume. So don't complain about that you can't access your account that day. Get a better broker. That would be a good video, but then I'm like, who cares? Leave it in a comment, but I won't post about it. Trump's talking about crypto in exchange. I don't know what you mean by in exchange, but Trump is basically all in on crypto now, yeah. Because basically what has happened is Silicon Valley tech billionaires basically decided that Joe Biden wasn't it, and that they were going to support Donald Trump. And they started putting the money in, and they said, hey, you should be pro crypto. And so he said, okay, I'm pro crypto. And he's been extremely pro crypto. Oh, about Kamala on social media. It's been I'd say a pretty constrained session in the Treasury. And we are kind of back to the middle of the road here. But when I come and I look at my longer term chart, I cannot help but see that nice, clean, gradual trend up, right? Like, it's not showing in the volume. I don't think we can take a trade. We've only traded this, right? But there is a steady uptrend, and we are at the lower end of the uptrend. So I guess this is as good of a chance as any to get along, but I really don't think it's worth it today. Well, that puts us at 7:43, so that whole spiel was only an hour. Well, it's not too bad. Let's poke around. I don't know. I'm still a little bit torn on whether I should go into some programming stuff here. What do you guys think about a better zigzag? RFK Jr. cancels Iowa State Fair appearance, citing increased security concerns. Oh, you know what? That's something I should bring up too. The whole what's with the Donald Trump campaign? It could be that they are just staying at Mar-a-Lago because they have active intelligence that they're concerned about. And especially with the whole thing that happened with the Taylor Swift concert. Did you hear about that? There was terrorists were going to strike the Taylor Swift concert, and their plan was to drive a car into the stadium and then rig it with explosions and then come in afterwards with guns and start shooting people after that. So they were planning like one of the, like that would have been, if they had pulled that off, that would have been like that would probably be like a new 9/11 for some people. Like, that would have been a crazy thing, but they caught them before it happened. And then there was another guy that was like an Iranian national, well, not an Iranian national, but apparently the Iranians were paying him to try and assassinate Donald Trump. So he may be laying low because of that. Zigzag for cumulative delta. We can do that. So let me explain to you what the problems with the zigzag are. This chart is so good for zigzag too because it goes back and forth. Okay, so what a zigzag indicator attempts to do is, okay, here you got this chart, and we can very clearly see that there is an uptrend and that there's a range here and that they're moving back and forth across this range. So how we can see it, how do you do it programmatically? And so you basically get this thing that's like, it'll go from here and it'll draw zigzags like that. Okay. Might be a little bit off. Let's see how close I am if I go to indicators and I just add zigzag. And I'll just do Ninja Traders zigzag. Okay. The deviation is too large. Let's see here. Oh, it can't be 0.5 points. Oh, wait, is that not Ninja Trader zigzag? That might not be theirs. Why would they use percent? One divided by 64 times 4, let's say 0.0625. 0.0625. Apply. That is too much. 0.015625. There you go. Okay, so not too bad. Now you can probably see it. Actually, let's make it yellow. Lawn green. 5 pixels wide. Okay, so now we've got like this very clear, like, you know, here are the waves, right? And what people do with these sorts of things is they go in and they say, okay, am I making higher lows, right? If all of a sudden I made a lower low, that could be a sign that the trend is over and that will reverse. And that it will eventually do that sort of a thing, right? Basically, trying to apply Dow theory to intraday data, essentially, is what it is. Having the data that price action swing has would be amazing to apply to cumulative delta. Yeah, well, so they do have it in Jigsaw. Did you know that? Did you know that they have it in Jigsaw? I'm pretty sure they have it in Jigsaw. I mean, I might be talking out my butt. Hold on a second. Z and 10-year treasury note. Okay. And bring it over here. And then I think I just use a regular thing and I put a plot on and I say JT swing charts, I think. Show volumes, apply. Yeah. It might not be swing charts. Where's cumulative delta? It shows me the volume, but it's not necessarily showing me the change in delta. I'm pretty sure there is a swing delta, though. Let's see here. There's a zigzag. Well, anyways. I swear it was on there. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't find it, at least. Having the data, the price action swing has not the patterns, but the raw delta volume numbers would be amazing to apply to cumulative delta. Oh, yeah. Okay, so here's what you got to do. So doing that for cumulative delta is actually not too terribly hard, because all you've got to do is if you just have delta, so if you're storing what was the change in delta for every bar, right? And then all you've got to do then is when a swing is found, just add up the deltas for all of these things, and then you've got your number. So you can do that. That's not actually terribly hard. It's a lot of programming though, so it's not the simplest thing in the world to do. So it's like let's say it's a lot of work, but it's not hard work. Let's say swing is hard work. So how does swing work? Well, what it does is it says if price is moved back like more than 4 ticks or something like that, then we have a pivot, right? And what it will do, well, now is not a very good example, but if we were at like up another tick or two, then you would see that it would start drawing the new pivot, right? But then if we were to immediately come back down, then it would say, oh, that wasn't actually a new pivot. And it redraws, essentially. It redraws. Okay. So what happens is you as a trader, you come in and you look at this chart and you're like, oh yeah, like they're there. Like that's all amazing. That's all amazing. This indicator is great. But the problem is that you did not know that this point right here was there until like here. Until here. So if you were to make a strategy that says, as soon as a pivot is confirmed, I want to do a thing, you're not actually entering until over here. Okay. And on this side, you're not actually entering until probably about here. So on that one, yeah, you would have made a profit, but you would have lost about half of the potential profit that's in there, right? And then when you take losses and all of those sorts of things, it turns out like it doesn't work, right? So what we did, so I have a different indicator. It's a little bit different. Let me show you this other indicator. Where is it? Is it still in TGM price pivots? Yeah. Okay, so price pivots is a little bit different. What it does is it says, instead of saying it's pulled back like more than 4 ticks or something like that, instead it says if I close below the previous bar's low, then that's a pivot, essentially. And that's how it does its zigzag. I think I have a way to make it draw the zigzag on these price pivots too. Let me see here. Maybe not. But it also will draw these lines coming off. No, let's not keep broken lines. That'll be a little bit better. Yeah, there you go. So what this does is now I can see, oh, there was previous pivots at these points, and then I can kind of see as we move down, do we go through those and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. And do you see how there's like, if you zoom in here, I have to have a magnifying glass. You see how there's like, there's where the pivot is, and you can see there's a little triangle, and you can see the pivot line coming off from it. But then there's the circle, and the circle is where it was confirmed at, essentially, right? So you can do the sorts of like analysis of price action sort of things with these price pivots, but it's not quite exactly the same thing. So like, you know, I don't know if people believe the results when you come out with it. But we could adapt it. We could take what we did with the price pivots and apply it to zigzag, so that then the zigzag would actually show us when you actually knew what it was. And you'd have the zigzag for the cumulative delta. It's still going to redraw. So like, for instance, this right here. So now you can see it. Now you can see. You see how it's drawing a line right there? Right? If we were to go and make a new low, what it would do is it would erase this one right here. It would say, oh, that's not what actually happened, and then it will redraw it like this. Okay? So what we can do is it will still redraw it so that you can kind of see, but we will know when one is actually confirmed, and we can like set up events for when it's actually confirmed. So then we could write a strategy that says like, when I get the event set, you know, like I can go into my in my strategy I could have something like, okay, trigger pivot long, or pivot swing long, and when you pivot swing long, set my swing long variable to true, and so then at the end of that next bar it will run that. It'll say, oh, okay, there was a pivot long. Now incorporated that into your logic. Is there a long or a short here? We had a higher high or a higher low. You go and you do it, right? So that's what we would have to do. And you would be able to do it with cumulative delta. And I guess if I was going to like make it a paid indicator, I could had the cumulative delta and the caching on it, so that you could go and like run over a year's worth of data and do all the back tests on that and sort of stuff to say like, okay, when you have a higher or a lower change in cumulative delta for a swing, does that give you a signal to enter a trade or something like that, right? I can kind of see the logic of where that would maybe make sense for a trade or something, but yeah. Now, Andre says that it's good to place the tick value and look at the average move. Yeah, so the problem with the default zigzag, if I can see here, is that that's price pivots. I'm sorry, zigzag right here. Use high low. Oh yeah, you probably want that checked, huh? That way the pivot will actually be at the or up there. There you go. But there's no way for me to show like, okay, how many ticks was that? So that's why what most people use is this poncho thing over here called price action swing. When you add that, I don't know if I have templates on it for what I've got for that. So I got to get rid of price pivots. Duration. No. Show labels. Oh, HH. Okay, so now you can see it. It's just a super tiny font. Let's go for 20. Okay, now you can see, now it tells you, okay, there was a swing. It was -6 plus 10, -7 plus 10. Now I can come in and say, okay, most that I could expect is 10 to 12. It's already +6. So if I'm going to take a trade, I don't think that I should probably go for more than 4 or 6 ticks for it, sort of a thing, right? Yeah, it is useful. Just as long as I think that the reason it's so popular is because what most people are doing is they're saying, I'm going to have a stop that's larger than 12 and less than 6. And the chances of me getting filled then at that point are extremely, extremely high. I'm only going for 4 ticks in this range. Like I went long down in here. Yeah, pretty good chance you catch it. Doesn't mean that the technical analysis actually worked per se, as much as it was you're taking on risk. You're short volatility, essentially, is what it is. It's the same thing as being short volatility. Oh, I wasn't showing the chart. I don't know if you saw that, but... Well, you could say that's a strategy too, I guess. Yeah. It's just, it irks me because it makes people think that they're proving things that they aren't actually proving. Right? Like, you can make money from risk premia is what the strategy is called, basically. Risk premia is a profitable strategy. But there's extreme risks to risk premia. You have to be able to, there's extremely strong, difficult to manage fat tails with risk premia. And most retail traders aren't going to be able to manage it. Especially if you think that the reason you're making the money is because of the technical analysis setup. Then you're not going to understand why it's not working. Because it's not that the technical analysis, it was that the technical analysis never actually worked, and it was just the risk reward that you're taking on that was actually making you money. And now that the range is higher and so forth, that doesn't work. Because essentially, you're short volatility and volatility is expanding, you're going to get destroyed. So people doing that kind of a strategy should probably be studying more volatility, or to put it another way, I've been screwing this chart up. So let's get rid of price action swing. We only need the spread and the cumulative delta for this one. Let me come over and we'll make one over here. Let's do ES because that's what frickin' everybody and their dog is trading. Right? Indicators. Speculator Seth. Multi-ATR, and we're going to add 2 of these on here. And one is going to be 14, and one is going to be 100. Okay? And we're going to do it in ticks. We're going to do it in ticks. Okay. So what I would want to do is I would want my stop to be larger than the volatility that we're having right now. I don't know if I want to say average volatility or... I don't know about that. I actually would... I think that I would need to do a little bit more. Like, let's come into the data series and trading hours... And I just do the STH, which is just the time period that we trade. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's a little bit better. Actually, it didn't change the numbers that much, believe it or not. Maybe if I changed it to only after 7:30 is maybe what I should do instead. New. No. Tools. Trading hours. Interest rate STH. Copy. Interest rate and we'll do CBOE US index. No, I'll just do index STH like that. And the start time, instead of being 7:20, will be 08:30 p.m. or AM rather. 8:30. Edit. I'm showing you guys all sorts of great tricks here. I really am. Okay. Data series. Index STH. Okay. There we go. Okay. That's a little bit better. It's interesting. The short-term bar volatility is actually quite a bit more. Okay, so actually, I think I need to do this. This is what I need to do. Is I need to add this again, but do a 30-minute one over here, or maybe let's just start with 5. And instead of doing this on like 100 period moving average, I do, I'll change this back to 14, but I'll change which data series it's on to the 5-minute. Okay. Better. Okay. Yeah, that's more like it. Oh, and I have to make sure that they're both on the same hour template. Index STH. There you go. There you go. Okay. So then what I would do is I would say make my stop larger than this one and my target smaller than this one. So like making my target, let's say like maybe 7. So like let's make it 16. Would make my target 16 and my stop like 64. So I would have like a 4-to-1 risk reward. Okay. But you would win like 90% of the time. You would win 90% of the time. Is it because and then you're coming in and you're saying like, I'm only going to take it when I get a higher low and there's this fair value gap and all of this kinds of nonsense, right? Okay, well, when you take that trade and you make money from it, is it because the fair value gap works? No. It's because your target was within the short-term volatility and your stop was outside of the long-term volatility. right? You can make your money by placing it all on red as well, but most people won't. Okay, how much for which treasury futures do you recommend trading for a small account? So I think that if you're trading with like $1,000, that you should use the micro yield futures. So you can do the micro yield futures, risk $10 a trade. That's great. That's 1% per trade. You're risking your account. That works pretty good. Great way to learn. Now, the issue that you will run into trading that small is that even if you're making money, it might not cover your expenses. So I don't know if that matters to you or not, but if you really are trying to like especially if you're trying to make a living from it, you're going to want a lot more than 1K, right? But I digress. You can definitely start trading, learn, and have a great experience with $1,000 account trading micro treasury yield, because that's what I do. That's why I do it, is to show you guys that it is a good spot to start. I'm not going to say that I always make money with it, but I tend to do okay with it. Anyways, I wonder, shall we try and program a strategy that does this? What do you think? What do you think? Let's do it. I'm interested in what this will look like, because I've had a hard time getting a back test that has skewed risk reward that actually showed like good results. So let's do it. Let's do it. What am I gonna call this? It's super degenerate, that's for sure. I'm gonna call it Degenerate Gambler, is what I'm gonna call it. Okay. And then I'm gonna come in here. So I need to look at some of these other strategies. Should I have it be based on the advanced base strategy? Actually, I don't think I should, because I'm going to be doing some weird stuff with the risk reward and everything. Okay, but we do want to come in here to the add data series. Add data series. So within configure, add data series, bars, period, type, minutes. I'm just gonna have it be well, actually, let's make a variable for it. Ninja script property public int higher time frame. Get set. Our music stopped. Time to start the playlist again. Okay. Higher time frame here. And by default, higher time frame will be 5. Okay. And then we are going to add, oh, you know what? I need to move my keyboard over here a little bit so that I can type a little bit better. Let's save that and pull up our terminal. Yeah. I love it. Look at how easy that was to open up in my editor. Helix is such a great text editor. Okay, so up here, we need to be using ninjatrader.ninjascript.indicators.speculator Seth. And then up here, yes, SPS multi-ATR, range short, or let's call it range short, underscore range short. Underscore says it's an instance variable is kind of it, it's a way for people to know that it's an instance variable just from the name of it. Okay. Underscore range short. Then SPS multi-ATR range long. Okay. Then down in here in the configure, I will do underscore range short equals SPS multi-ATR. I don't know what the properties are going to be. I'll go back into the NinjaScript editor and do that part. Range long equals SPS multi-ATR, like that. Okay. So then what should we use as our signal? What should we use as our signal? How about a moving average crossover? A swing? I could just try the like the oscillator thing. I want something cooler I want something that's more like what people do. Let's do breach of a higher low. Let's do a breach of a higher low. If max of close, comma, period. If, oops. Okay, if the close of 0 is greater than the max over the period, then enter short, I think. Is less than come on, word, min of that, something like that. Let's come back over here. Now we'll fix some of the parts that we couldn't get. Oh, I didn't finish enter long. This right here, SPS multi-ATR, what do we pass into it? Okay, period, comma, range type dot pix. So for this one, we are going to pass in bars array of 1 instead of, I guess we can do it this way too. Bars array of 0. You don't need this line, but I'll put it there for consistency's sake. There we go. Okay, so now I need to remember. That should be capital F. Oh, and didn't actually create the period. Property. Get set. Period equals 15, let's say. 14, 15, doesn't matter. Like that. I'm just getting rid of all of the easy. So like that. Okay. Okay. So, what I was going to say is, I need to remember, how do I set the stop and target every time? On this one, I don't think I do that. Oh, you know what? I think I did it on this time stop and reverse, I think, maybe. Yeah. Enter short, set stop loss, set profit target. And it has to be named. Okay. I'll just copy that bit right there. Enter short. My short. My short X. Okay, so then what I want to do is I want to say, let's make two properties. Let's say ninja script property public double target. What do we call it? Like, basically, like, there's going to be a percent that the target is based on the range. Maybe it will just be target. Get set. Just script property public double stop get set. And let's make target equals let's make it 80% of the range, 0.8. And stop, let's make it 20% more. 20% less, 20% more, so 1.2. Okay. So let's see here. Double value, things like, okay, I don't know if I pass in a double into that, what it will do, but let's just try it. Calculation mode dot ticks. Stop times tick size. Wait, what? That's not right. Let's check the documentation on that. Ninja script. What was it called? Set stop loss. Set stop loss. Right here. Ticks away from entry, average entry. Value. The value of the stop loss order is offset from the entry position entry price. Exception is using price mode where value will represent the actual price. Okay, well, it's going to be range long underscore range long of 0 and it should be giving that to me in ticks times stop like that. And for this one, it's going to be underscore range short of 0 times target. Like that. My long. Now, at some point, I might be able to come in and say if the range is like weight is too high, don't trade. But let's see if we can get this to work first. Short, long. Short, long. Stop, target, true, fall. Okay. I think we've got it. I'll be really impressed if this like compiles and actually like runs the first time. Oh, okay. We don't need this reverse size thing. We can just put 1 there. We're only doing 1 lot, so that's fine. Okay, while it compiles. Strategy analyzer. I'm going to, back test. Degenerate gambler. 515, 1.2, 1.8, yeah. ES. 1 minute. Don't need tick replay. Commissions matter here. Hold on. Accounts. Let's just make sure that on the sim account that we've got that edit account. We've got that set that we're using Ninja Trader Brokerage Lifetime. Okay. Run. Okay, so it did not take any trades, but it like stopped almost immediately. So I bet you that there was an error in there. Where is my output window? There you are. Oh, did I not have one open? Okay. Run again. It never happens. Is it if the close of 0 equals the max of 0? Is it that? Actually, don't I have something that's like break high-low? Yeah, somewhere else. Oh, can't say it's equals. Durr. Embarrassing, Seth. Embarrassing. Hey. Okay. So how many trades did it take? Oh, it's taking a lot of trades. That's too much. That's too much. So basically every time that it tries to go to that it breaches the high, it takes another trade. Okay. That's kind of dumb. So I don't think that our entry signal is very good. But what really matters is what is it setting? So it is doing the thing, because like, look, my largest winner is half as big as my largest loser. So that's interesting. Let me change this and make that all ticks. That makes it a little bit easier to understand. Man, a negative 1.44 Sharpe ratio. That's so dumb. But in analysis, oh my gosh, it's such a consistent loser too. But maybe it's because I just need to flip it around, actually. So that this could be interesting. Stick with me, folks. Okay, MAE. Oh, okay, so most of the time it is over in here, though. That's good. Because you could just, cut these big ones off, right? Okay. Okay. So, first thing is we just switch these around. It'll probably still be a loser, but it might be better. Actually, we might get a profit off of this. We'll see. I just don't want anybody to think that all you got to do is just reverse your entries and then it will be a profitable strategy. It doesn't quite work like that. Okay, and in fact, it was worse. It's actually worse. That's funny. It's actually worse. So I think I'm doing something wrong here, to be honest with you. Because I think that, oh, you know why? I know what the problem is. I need to change this to CBOT US Index Futures RTH at the very least. At the very least. Better. A lot less trades. But like it's only taking like 3 ticks. That's still probably not right. Because shouldn't average winner is 6 and average loser is 10? See, that's not right, because we had our chart open here, didn't we? Which is it? This thing right here. And the ATR that we were getting was like 19 and 50. So if I take the long term and I say, 50 times 1.2 should be like 60. Like my average losers should be 60. My average winner should be like 20 times 0.8 should be 16. So why is it not doing that? Oh, is it because it's reversing? Yes, it is. Probably is because that's over a period. Yeah. I don't know if I really want to make it okay, let's say if it's the high of the last hour, okay? I'm just going to hard code it and see if that changes it to do what I want. That'll probably give me a lot less trades, but that's probably good. Okay. And these changed, so that's good. Then the other thing that I want to do is I want to say and position dot market position equals market position dot flat. So it won't stop and reverse. Like once you take a trade, it will stay with it. Okay. As we refine this, we would probably want to get a setup that is a lot more isolated, like maybe some bar pattern or something like that, right? Okay, a lot less trades, but we're getting better. We're getting somewhere at least. At least, I think that the numbers are a little bit more like what I would expect. Okay. We are in a fairly volatile market, so maybe that 10 and 16 are reasonable. So what does it give me? So my actual R ratio is not that bad. I thought that it would be like 0.25, but it's actually 0.68. So that's interesting. And I am getting a pretty good... Well, I do have a positive win rate. So if we actually, maybe if we did find a good, a better signal, might work. That brings me back to, again, this whole thing, like, flip them around, because that did work worse, right? I probably won't save it, but... What I'm doing is I'm just looking at the results and kind of seeing some things that's like, okay, I mean, I screwed this up. Let's try and get to something that actually does what I want. Oh, that was actually worse, but there was more percent profitable, which I think is about right. Analysis, cumulative net profit. Does it ever have profitable periods? See, I would expect it to have done really poorly in the last month, but there should be some periods where it does okay, right? Yeah, well, apparently not. But that's probably just because we need a better signal, right? Let's try this. I don't want to do the whole, like, swing bit, but I could do the, like, well, there's 4-year trend. There is 4-year trend. No. Where did I put it? Could do the filters. That might be better. Oh, it is the 4-year trend that works off of this. Well, what was it doing? Cross above the threshold is rising. sure. Time is at 8:42. Okay, got 15 minutes left. Oh, okay. Four-year trend. We need four-year period, moving average period. Oh, yeah, we need all of these actually. Need all of these, and need we're also going to need the defaults over here as well. At least those ones, I think. Did I not grab ATR period? Apparently not. Oh, ATR period is yeah, we don't need that. I need that bit for the risk management thing. Okay. Okay. Summary, run. Okay, well, that was a lot better. A lot less trades. Average winning trade, average losing trade seem okay. But that is not as good as the version that I had that was just straight risk management, right? So, I think it would work better if it was like, is there a fair value gap sort of a thing? I think that I could do something that like just tries to take a trade based off of a fair value gap. Like, if there was a fair value gap somewhere, or when I detect a fair value gap, set a trigger, and then if it comes back to it, I take a trade or something like that. I don't think that would be a good strategy, but I do think I could probably get something. Well, I mean, this one kind of does the same thing. I would want to see one where it's kind of like I would want one that kind of goes like this and then kaddish, and then it kind of goes like this and kaddish. That's what I would expect to see. Maybe, you know what? Let's just try one more thing, and that is let's set the start date to be 2019. Ooh. See, those are the sort of things that I would expect is like during COVID, it should just get demolished. Oh, like there's a period where it worked. Yeah. Need a better signal. I really feel like I should be able to find something that it works. I think I think that one of the key things is that you've got to get it when it's mean reverting. You've got to catch it mean reverting. So I need a more of a mean reversion sort of a signal. I don't think that you need a whole lot of edge to say it's mean reverting right now, right? Could use something like well, maybe not even just mean reverting. It could be a moving average crossover. But maybe a mean reversion with an RSI, maybe. I don't know. I also think another key component that would be missing here that like a person would be doing is that they would be looking at the range and making sure that they're getting a good position within the range. Well, I guess that my whole oscillator thing should do that. So that's really interesting because oh wait, so hold on. I want to come in here. FT threshold. When I was doing these ones, like these, FT threshold is 3. Oh, but what were they using for periods on these? R2 period, 50, 4-year period, 120. Oh, they actually were using 80. Well, that's not going to make much of a difference. Actually, it was worse. That's so interesting that this stop strategy makes it seems so much worse. Well, we could do the opposite here. We could say my stop is 0.8 and my target is 1.2. Excuse me. Okay. Let's do this. Optimization. Stop and target, and let's go from 0.5 to 2 by 0.1s. 0.5 to 2. 0.1. So that should give me like 2,000 or something like that. It'll be a lot, but I'm only gonna do let's change this back to 2024. 2024, so only do a year's worth of optimization and do those things, and I think that's all I should need. There could be, I'm not considering it. I didn't look at how much is the commission factoring into it too, but I am saying the commission may be more to do with the losses than I realize. Oh, the treasuries are falling out here a little bit here, huh? Falling out the bottom of the range at least. Did I say 2,000? My math is bad. Only 256 iterations? Okay. So this should be interesting. Okay, so it didn't get one that was profitable, but it did get one that wasn't terrible, and it did get one that had almost a 61% win rate. So how did it do that? It used a target of 0.9 and a stop of 1.6. Oh, so my stop of 1.2 is just not good enough, is it? That's interesting. But the reason I wanted to do that was I can go and I can do this optimization graph, and I can say net profit, target, and stop. And it should give me this really interesting. Oh, that's very interesting. So what is this saying to me? Make you bigger. Make you much bigger. So it's saying that a stop that is, oh, wow, that's interesting. It's like that stop. The stop being right around that 1.2 area is bad. I think we actually learned something today. I think we actually did pick something up from all of that. So look, so it's saying it's significantly more likely to catch a winner if you are within 1.2 or so of the range, and especially if it's just barely. So it's saying that, like, if the range is like this, that you actually want to try and get this, and if you try and get for this, there's like a big step. There's a big step in, it's not as profitable. Oh, that's so interesting. But then on the other side, it's also saying that they do this a lot, where it comes up like that and then it comes back. And so you have to set your stop more than just 1.2. You have to set it something like that. So that that is very, very interesting. Now that I've done that and I got an optimization that worked, let's run it in a new tab. And let's run it over 5 years. And let's just see if more data reveals anything interesting about the performance of this. Still a loser. Oh, that's really interesting, actually. So I kind of made this whole sort of thing to bash on it a little bit, because remember I was saying, like, taking on excessive risk, because that's essentially what this is doing. It's saying I'm going to take on the risk. I think that the range is going to contract essentially. And so you can see, even if I take a strategy that is kind of profitable, but with a different risk taking strategy, it's not very good. Okay, but if I have a strategy that has a lot of edge and is really short-term in nature, what we just discovered here can really amp your profits up, right? I think that a lot of traders, what they're doing is they do have a little bit of a mean reversion signal. So I don't think that it's enough to have like a really good long-term edge, but you know, there is that little bit of something, and then the risk taking like really amps it up, right? But for my own trading, you know, that kind of tells, you know, that kind of makes me think maybe I should change some things. I think that those results actually make me think about some things, like that when I'm trading this, like I'm just trying to get like 10 ticks. Now that's not necessarily explicitly what the range is and everything, but maybe I should start putting out a thing on there and saying, here's what the short and long-term ATR of this particular instrument has been, and you know, here's 1.5 times that, and here's 0.7, whatever it was, make the target be a little bit less than 1. So then I would probably end up being like, I try and make 9 ticks, and I will take this, you know, my hard stop will be more than 10. Like my hard stop will be like 15. And I still am going to be using discretion and everything, so I think that my average winner to my average loser should still stay that my winner is larger, but that might help me a little bit, because I do often find these things where like it only just barely gets to what I want and then it doesn't go any further. There does seem to be really something too, that the market looks at the average true range, and you have a much greater chance of winning if you cut it short a little bit. I wonder if I go back to this. So one more experiment. I do have to go. So after this, then we're done. But what if I, instead of optimizing on max profit factor, I maximized it on max win rate? Max, what is it? Max percent profitable. Run. Would it give me a different answer? I think it should. I think that max percent profitable may just pick the biggest skew on the numbers that it can. But the profit graph should help us. Should give us some interesting information. Yeah, so it's saying you want your target to potentially be less than the average range, and you want your stop to be, you don't want your stop to be this 1 to 1.3-ish area. That is so incredibly fascinating. You know what else I can do? 10. Well, you won't be able to see the results of this one. Keep messing with it. I gotta get going, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Stay excellent. Or not tomorrow, on Monday. But stay excellent.